A shattering of shop windows, the bomb in the baby carriage, was wired to the radio. These are the days of miracle and wonder, and don't cry, baby, don't cry, don't cry. Paul Simon, The Boy in the Bubble. Hateful empty masks, full of beetles and spiders, yet glaring out from their glass eyes with a ghastly affectation of life. Thomas Carlyle, Sartor Resartus. Part 1. Nowhere Safe. 1. At 7 o'clock on that night in March, during a thunderless but heavy rain pounding as loud as an orchestra of kettle drums, Sarah Holdsteck finally left the offices of Paradise Real Estate, carrying her briefcase in her left hand, open purse slung over her left shoulder, right hand free for a crossbody draw of the gun in the purse. She boarded her Ford Explorer, threw back the dripping hood of her raincoat, and drove home by way of familiar suburban streets on which the foul weather had settled a strangeness, an apocalyptic gloom that matched her mood. Not for the first time, in the past 2 years, she felt as if somewhere ahead of her, reality itself must be eroding, washing away, so that she might come to the crumbling edge of a precipice with nothing beyond but a lightless, bottomless abyss. Silver needles of rain pleated the darkness with mystery and threat. Any vehicle that followed her more than 3 blocks elicited her suspicion. The Springfield Armory Champion 45 ACP was nestled in her open purse, which stood on her briefcase, within easy reach on the passenger seat. Originally, she hadn't wanted a weapon of such a high caliber, but she had eventually realized that nothing smaller would so reliably stop an assailant. She had spent many hours on a shooting range, learning to control the recoil. She had once lived in a gated community with an around-the-clock security guard in a paid-off 12,000-square-foot residence with a view of the Pacific Ocean. Now she owned a house 1/4 that size, encumbered by a fat mortgage, in a neighborhood with no gate, no guard, no view. Starting with little money, by the age of 40 she had built a modest fortune as a Southern California real estate agent, broker, and canny investor. But most of it had been taken from her by the time she was 42. At 44, though bitter, she was nonetheless grateful that she hadn't been rendered penniless. Having clawed her way to the top once before, she'd been left with just enough assets to start the climb again. This time, she would not make the mistake that had led to her ruin. She would not marry. On the street where Sarah lived, storm runoff overwhelmed the drains to form shallow lakes wherever the pavement swaled. Her Ford cast up wings of water in a false promise of magical flight. She slowed and swung into her driveway. Lights glowed in some windows, controlled by a smart house program that, after nightfall and in her absence, created the illusion of occupancy and activity. She remoted the garage door and, while it rolled up on its tracks, put her open purse in her lap. She drove inside, the drumming of rain on the roof relenting as the welcome electronic shriek of the alarm system inspired a greater sense of safety than she had felt since